Hello, welcome to the channel. In this video, we'll do a walkthrough or a general overview of the GKE Cloud Console. So we are in the GKE Cloud dashboard page. So from this page, how to get to the GKE console is you can either search for Kubernetes here and click on the Kubernetes engine option. This will take you to the Kubernetes clusters page, or you can directly go here to the navigation menu, and from here you can click on Kubernetes engine cluster, or you can get to a specific option which you would like to access from uh, using this pop-up options, right? So let's start with the overview page. We, as of right now, are not going to go over the enterprise feature yet. So we'll just go generically over the uh, console and see what are the options available here. So we'll start with the overview page. So in the overview page, you just have the Google Cloud provided articles about GKE, some training videos or options to deploy workloads to GKE and stuff like that. In the overview page, you will be able to see here. So this is a generic page. If you would like to get started on GKE, you can visit the page. Like the Google provides some templates which you can use to deploy your workloads to the GKE. Right, you have multiple options like MySQL. You can deploy Kafka, Redis, uh, or you can deploy AI workloads to the cluster as well. So these options by Google by default provides it. So if you are more interested in exploring any of the options or solutions in specific, you can use these options to get started into knowing about it more, right? So that's pretty much you'll find at the overview page. uh, you can also use these options to filter your filter to your specific needs with respect to GKE. So yeah, that's the overview page where we get started section and the fleet dashboard. So here you will have the fleet dashboard. So you can see all the metrics related to fleet. Fleet is a fleet or hub. You might say here is an enterprise feature. So it's not available for GKE standard edition clusters, right? So yeah, this is a fleet dashboard. So as we go through the enterprise features, we'll go into detail about this. So I'm skipping this all fleets option as well because here you will find all the fleets that you have across uh, the project that you have access to, right? So right now we don't have any fleet, so you're not seeing any fleet listed here. So let's move to the next one option, which is the clusters. So in the clusters page, what you see is the information specific to your GKE clusters that you have created, right? So even if it is GKE on Google Cloud or AWS or Azure, whatever flavor of GKE you are using, and you are if you are controlling the clusters. Uh, On-prem cluster or other public cloud clusters from via GKE, then you will be able to see all those cluster details here. So for now, for showing you some of these options, I have created a sample cluster, single zone cluster from CLI. So yeah, so here if you go inside the cluster, right? So you will have the cluster details, your detailed cluster configurations that you might have input during the cluster creation. You will be able to go over detail in each section. You will be able to modify your configurations if allowed post the cluster creation. You can do all this stuffs here, right? So this is the cluster details tab. Going to the nodes tab. In the nodes tab, you will be able to find your node pools and nodes that's part of the cluster that you are selected and you are viewing the details of, right? So this currently we only have one node pool, which is the default node pool, and the number of nodes is one. So that's what you see here. Right. So in the name itself, you can see the node name itself. You can see the pool name and node pool name as well. So that's how you can identify the pool to which the node belongs to. So yeah, you can also get into the node pool page, go over the node pool configurations that you might have input during the node pool creation. Um, yeah, check in detail configurations for the node pool specific options, right? And also you can see the instance group, managed instance group that's hosting the nodes for this node pool and the nodes that's part of this node pool, right? So yeah, that's pretty much you can get it in the node pool page. And also you can, if you click here, you can go to the specific compute instance, right? So and then you can see the details like the pods that hosted on the specific node, the metrics, the basic metrics, CPU utilization, memory utilization, disk utilization, and the resource summary, like each specific resources, right? Like CPU, ephemeral storage, uh, like if you have attached any volumes to the node pool, uh, those details, and the GPU details. If you created a machine compute instance that has a GPU support, huge page details, memory ports, everything in detail, right? And also the uh, health checks also you can see here. Like for example, the most common ones like disk pressure, memory pressure, PAD pressure, whether the node is ready or not, the kubelet status. Those details are also you can uh, check here. All right, so. Uh, Yeah, that's about it. You can go to the detail sections to view in detailed information about the node, like labels, annotations that you might use uh, when you create a chain for the node, or toleration for your workload, chains and tolerations for your workloads, the pod cider range that's being used for the pods hosted on this nodes, the mission specific details, the OS details, uh, container runtime, kubelet version, kubeproxy version details. And here you will find events related to the node, right? Like if you are creating the node, you will have the kubelet started, and then container d service. The Docker service, if Docker is being used, and also the uh, specific node specific events also will be posted here. It will be available here for you to go and review later in the time. If you have any issues with the nodes, you might have be finding the events helpful, right? So those details you can find here, and these are the node level logs. So yeah, you can, if there is any issue you would like to troubleshoot, you would like to look at the node level logs, you can go in, come here and uh, take a look at the logs in detail here, right? So, and the YAML, the node YAML details, manifest, Kubernetes manifest details. So, node specific configurations that have been applied here, you'll be able to uh, see here, right? So, Uh, that's pretty much these are some of the managed fields. If you would like to see what the actual YAML contains, you can minimize all the managed fields, API version information, and then get to the spec. Uh, Find the information for the node, right? You'll be able to view the detailed YAML inputs here. So yeah, now getting back here. So we are done with looking at the node section. Now moving to the storage section. Here you will find the storage classes that as part of that's created in the GKE cluster, right? That's available by default. You will get standard read rate only, premium read rate only storage classes. We'll look into detail as we go through the storage types. Each one of these will look in details in that specific video. And the persistent volumes that you create uh, that might have got created for your workloads that have used in your workloads for data storage and specific use cases, you will find the persistent volumes here, right? So it's attached to this cluster. So that's pretty much on the storage uh, tab. I mean, you can go inside each of the stuffs and explore more in detail about the storage class. You can get the YAML for the storage class as well. For persistent volume, also you can go inside the persistence volume resource. You can see the time when it was created, the YAML for the PV. Those stuffs also you can view from here itself. So the next, moving over to the observability section. So here you will find the basically here you will see the metrics related to your cluster, right? For example, at the cluster you might have a lot of namespaces. So there are groups available. Like you can view the namespace level metrics, pod level metrics, or you can also see node level metrics or entire cluster metrics. There are various group by parameters for available for the metrics available here. Also, you can go to specific uh, sections to view the respective metrics in detail. For CPU, if you would like to look into more about the CPU utilization and what our the CPU are available is in the cluster, that also you can look here. The memory level matrix, like memory, what are the memory request percentage, memory used, unused, right? So those details like storage level, ephemeral disk usage, persistence volume usage. Like as we saw, we had one PV, right? So you have one bound claim, one bound volume. Uh, like claim capacity and how much is being used, right? So those in-depth metrics you will be able to see here under observability tab. So next, the logs tab. So as you might have known, so the logs under cluster will give you the cluster level logs, right? So um, any API requests or audit logs. So those stuffs will be available. The cluster level audit event, those details will be available here in this log section. So in addition, you have autoscaler logs as well. If you have autoscaling enabled in your cluster, then autoscaler related events can be found in this log section, right? And app errors, like so this section mostly helps you with easily finding the errors that your application that's running in your cluster produces, right? So if there are any uh, errors that's happening in your workloads, this page will easily provide you the what are the errors being reported, logged, and also uh, from here you will see the variety of errors that's happened on your workloads, and you can easily drill down to the respective logs, right? You don't have to go to the workloads, go to the specific pod or deployment and get in the logs to find errors, right? So in case you would like to explore or review the errors that's happening in your cluster workloads, this will be a single location where you can find the details, right? So this is one of feature of GKE that Google provides. So now getting back to the cluster page. So we looked into the overview where we went into the cluster page and looked in everything in detail, and now to the observability, right? So this is this observability. It's at the project level or across clusters, you can say, right? You can use the filters to choose the GKE cluster metrics that you would like to see, and also drill down to the namespace level metrics, right? So now we have only one cluster, and I have chosen the default namespace. And so here also you have certain groups. So you can also group the metrics by entire project, or namespaces top 5, and also you can choose the additional namespaces. Right, you will the based on the filter you apply, you will find the metrics for the respective namespaces here, right? So those uh, kind of options are all available. So yeah, so here also you have in-depth metrics for CPU, memory level metrics, Kubernetes events, event level metrics, right? You can from here see uh, what are the events happened in your namespace, right? So these are some of the workloads that I have created, the logs you are seeing for the same, right? So if you have cloud logging enabled, then you will find the log matrix here as well. If you have managed Prometheus enabled, yeah, these specifically the generic metrics that's available out of the box from Google for you, right? Based on the functionalities you use, those can be found here. So uh, cost optimization is a feature that you have to enable when you create the cluster, right? So if you have the cost optimization feature enabled, then you will be able to find suggestions from Google based on your resource utilization, like how much has been allocated, how much is requested, and how much is used out of the requested resources for your cluster, right? So those information you can see here. So if you have over provisioned and you are paying more for running your uh, Kubernetes workloads, then this page will help you a lot in optimizing the environment and controlling the cloud costs, right? So that's uh, uh, where this page helps you with. So yeah, that's pretty much the options available under the cluster tab. Now let's move over to the workloads section, right? So here you will be able to view the workloads that's running as part of your cluster, right? So um, let's say you have some deployment pod or stateful sets, daemon sets, whatever workloads you deploy in your cluster, you will be able to browse through the workloads here. So this is the overview page. Here you have filters. If you have multiple clusters, you can select the cluster, and then you can select the namespace from the cluster, and then view the workloads from that specific namespace. Yeah, so here right now we only have uh, two workloads running in the default namespace. Uh, by default, you might see the system object set to false. You can remove this when you are would like to look into GKE system installed resources, right? So let's remove the default. So GKE by default it installs some workloads to have your cluster functioning as expected. Report the logs, send the metrics to uh, cloud cloud metrics, right? So those system workloads will be you can see it only after disabling that filter, right? So by default you won't be able to view the system workloads because you should not be meddling with it. So by default Google sets that filter system workload equals false, right? So you can, if you would like to view those workloads, you can disable the filter and go to that. So now coming back to our own deployed workloads, right? So let's say I have uh, deployed a Nginx server here. So I have set the replica to be one. So let's get into this. So here you will find the generic tabs here, right? So that you find for the Kubernetes GKE nodes. So you'll have an overview where you can see the metrics utilized for this specific deployment, the deployment specific details like how much replicas, the label set for the replica, the name, sorry, deployment, the namespace, whether HPA is configured or VPA is configured, the active revision, on which revision the deployment is currently running, the pods within as part of the deployment, right? So whether your deployment is exposed and what's the endpoint for it, those details you can find in the details overview page. You can also go drill down to the pod and find all the pod level metrics, pod level configurations and stuff uh, as well, right? So I'm not gonna go into these stuffs in detail as uh, you might have seen in other places. You will find the details here. Observability, you can look into the uh, pod level metrics here to look into if you are facing any slowness or troubleshooting any issues. You can take a look at the pod level metrics here and the revision history, like what are the changes you have made to the deployment. Those you can see here. The events related to the deployment, logs specific to this deployment, the log from the pod that's from all the pods get shown here, right? So and app errors, if there are any errors being reported from the deployment, here you have the YAML for the deployment. Everything will be able to see here. You can also use the options here to edit the deployment. For example, if you would like to make any changes to the deployment, right? You can make it here. Like if you would like to edit the replica, if you would like to change the images, you can make the changes here using the edit option, right? Also, you can delete the deployment if you would like to not continue running it. You can also auto scale, like if you have HPA configured, you can also have it auto scale, right? So uh, right now it is asking to configure because HPA is not enabled for this deployment. So you can put in your minimum replica, max replica, and also auto scaling metrics. Also, you can have configured here. Uh, Also, you can, if your deployment is not exposed, you can have it exposed by a service using this option. Uh, you can set the port, target port, protocol, what type of service as well you can do. Uh, you can do a rolling update as well. You can scale the replica deployment, like instead of editing in the YAML, you can just use this option to increase the replica count for your deployment. So yeah, this workload section has lot of options that you can do here instead of uh, working via the kubectl commands, right? If it is you need a quick change, right? So it will be a lot useful. So getting back to the workloads, we have one more part running. This is for showing a PV demo as well. So moving to the next observability section, it's the same. You will be able to view the metrics for your workloads, right? So the top five is shown by default. You can also create custom dashboards as well based on your needs, but by default you have a predefined dashboard which gives you the generic metrics, right? So CPU metrics, memory metrics, and also any integrations you have, uh, like any third-party services you have integrated to send the metrics to Google Cloud monitoring, right? So those also you can see here, and the cost optimization for the workloads as well will be available here, right? So as you can see, the how much the total CPU request for the workload is, and then how much it is being used, right? So uh, those metrics you can see here. So that's mostly the workload page. So moving over to the next option, which is Teams. This is an enterprise feature. So I will not be able to show it now. We'll discuss in a separate video. This is nothing but this page will help you with assigning uh, permissions for specific teams over your clusters, right? So let's say example, you have 10, 20 clusters in a single project, and various teams manages the cluster and consumes the cluster services. Those time you can create teams and then provide permissions at specific cluster level for the teams. So that's an enterprise feature. So right now it's we have not enabled enterprise, right? So that's this is disabled. You won't be able to see any much details here. So we'll go through it in a separate video. And moving to the next tab, the applications tab. So the applications tabs will give you details about the Knative services, right? So uh, what are Knative services, right? So I'll give you a I mean, the in generic overview of what is Knative services. So, Knative services help you to run stateless and event-driven applications in GKE, right? So, you have to do the additional configurations and you have to deploy the Knative services on your GKE cluster. There is documentation for that, right? So you can click on learn more and get to the documentation and get more understanding about it if you are exploring this option. So right now we don't have any Knative services deployed in the cluster, so you are not seeing anything here. Uh, right, you can as you can see, you also have option to deploy it from the marketplace as well. So if you click here, you will be taken to the marketplace where you can uh, deploy Knative applications, right? So you have default templates here. You can choose one and then um, proceed with deploying that uh, workload to the cluster, right? So you have, if it is a paid one, you have to purchase it and then deploy the workload. So yeah, we are not going to go further much here. Moving to the next one. Uh, the AI and ML section. This is a new section. So yes, you see the new tag here. So here you'll Google has provided you options with running generically available AI based or ML based marketplace solutions, right? So and also you'll find articles on how to get started with AI or ML workloads on GKE. So right now we don't have any deployed, right? So that's why it's empty. And as you can see here, there is pre-built demos and tools and frameworks available. Ray and GK, you might have heard about Ray. It's a AF, framework as well. And Jupyter and GKE, like you can run a Jupyter hub on GKE, make use of the notebooks to work on AI stuffs that you are exploring. Those options are pre-built and available for you, provisioned by GK, right? So the AI deployments, if you have any deployed, you can find it here, manage it, right? So that's pretty much here. So we'll do this in a maybe separate video, the AML workloads as well, where we progress through further things, right? So moving on to the next section, secrets and config map. So this section will help you to view the secret and config map details that's part of the cluster or namespace, right? So I have created a test secret to show you how viewing a secret from the console looks like. And by default, we have a config map, which is a Kubernetes certificate, right, that we use to authenticate to the API server. That's the root CA is available here. So if you click on this, you can view the details of the config map. So you will be able to see the any config map data as well from here. So this is a certificate. So we are able to view it here. You can also view the YAML for the same here, the root certificate. Uh, right. So as you can see, the contains a CA bundle that can be used to verify the Kubernetes API server when using internal endpoints such as internal service. Yeah, this is for internal authentication for the API server, right? So this certificate is used for authenticating any calls. So yeah, so there's a config map, and when viewing a secret, as you can see, the secret is hidden. So even if you have elevated privileges, permissions for Kubernetes engine, you won't be able to view the secrets because it's sensitive information and it's not displayed in the console. So if you would like to uh, view the secrets, then you will have to use the kubectl command, right? So yeah, here you can go here. Um, you can get the YAML edit. If you click here, you will be provided a uh, cloud shell, right? For the same, here you can run the kubectl commands, right? We are not going to do that. This is just an overview. So that's pretty much about the config map and secret section. You can manage the config maps and secrets from this section. So going to the next section, which is storage. So as I mentioned, I already created a persistence volume climb to show it for you, which is being used by this demo pod. So as you if you go inside the demo pod, so go to the YAML, minimize this managed build, and here you will see the volume attachment, right? So here I have uh, here I am using a PVC that's being created. There is a separate. You have to manually create the PVC uh, based on your need and then attach it to the workload, right? That's what I have done here. So I'm using the PVC for this workload. PVC is not bound to any workload. Then the PVC will not be created. So it will be showing us it is in a pending state, and you won't be it won't be provisioned basically. So if you just create the PVC, it won't create an actual disk in the backend, and only when you bound it to a workload and the pod gets brought up, only that time the persistence volume climb will um, have a disk allocated to it, and then you can see the detail volume details here, right? So if you go inside the PVC option, you will find the PVC details, what kind of storage class this PVC uses, and the volume, right? So the events related to it, uh, the YAML of the PVC, right? So I'm minimizing this. So we just created with the access mode read write once, which is the standard RWO read write once. Uh, 30 GB volume. What is the storage class name? That is the standard RWO read write once one that we already saw. The volume mode is file system, and the volume name it gets mapped here once the disk is provisioned, right? So um yeah, the phase is bound. So as you would have seen in the overview page, right? So now if you click on the volume, you will be taken to the persistent volume details, right? PV details. So PV will have the annotations here. You can see the annotations here, labels, if any applied over the PVC, right? So um, so yeah, the specs or whatever you give for the PVC, you will see them in the PV. The claim reference, what's the CSI driver container storage interface used to provision the disk. Right, those in-depth details you can find it here. Now going back to the storage. Um, so here you have the storage classes. So which we already looked in the cluster overview page, right? So you can choose the cluster and you will see what are the storage classes that's available part of the uh, GKE cluster. You can create manual storage classes as well based on your use case and needs, and those will be displayed here as well, right? So yeah, that's pretty much about the storage. It only shows you information about the storage classes and the PVC details, PV details, etc. Right. So moving on to the next section, which is the object browser. So the object browser contains a lot of options, right? You can be a substitute for your kubectl get command, right? Whatever you are trying to view or read to see what are the resources available in your cluster, you can do it here. You can drill down further as well. So for example, uh, I would like to see the details of the uh, pod that's running in my default namespace. Let's do that. So uh, if you know the API group, you can drill down into the API group as well. Uh, let's start from the object kinds, right? So let's search for a pod. You have the pod option here. Okay. So you have the API group, the kind. Uh, kind is a pod. That's what you have chosen. API group is 4. And then you will see the pods that's running in our default namespace, right? This is for the Nginx deployment that we saw earlier, and this is for the uh, demo pod which we created for consuming the PV, persistent volume claim, right? So uh, yeah, so here you can even search for secret, right? So you will be able to find the secret here. You can go inside it. Yeah, so as you know, secret might not be shown here. Also it won't be shown. So yeah, so that's how you can use this. You have a lot of options here. You can read. You can even view your if in case you are looking for any ingress resources you have deployed, ingress class, or if you have any gateway deployed. Uh, that will also be able. You will be able to see here. Since we haven't deployed one, I'm not getting the option. Right? So, yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much about the object viewer. So it will help you as a effective replacement for the kubectl get command that you run from CLI, right? Yep. Moving over to the next section, the rollout sequencing. So with this feature, you will be able to roll out GKE upgrades to your clusters in a controlled manner, right? You can use if you have fleets, um, you have scopes created. You can also use fleet level rollout options, and also you can create scopes and then you can do scopes level rollout as well, the GKE upgrade. And also you can apply some conditions over it, like for example, let's say you have dev, QA and production environments. You can create a rollout sequencing so that your dev upgrades first if there is a new GKE release in the channel release channel that you have enrolled in, and then you can wait. You can have a 7 day cool down period or observatory period, right? So, and then if no issue, then you can automatically have the rollout push to your QA environment. You can have another 7 days or 14 days observatory period, and then push it to production. So those kind of automated upgrade rollers can be performed using the roller sequencing options. This will look into in a separate video as well. And then moving to the next section, backup for GKE. So GKE provides backup and restore options for the Kubernetes workloads, Google Kubernetes workloads, right? So uh, here you can have backup plans created, like I can quickly show you. So choose the cluster, the backup plan name, give the where to store the backups. For example, if you have created your cluster in US Central 1, and if in case you need to restore when there is a regional level outage or something, you can choose a different region, right? You can choose US East 1 and you can store your backups there. And whenever there is a DR, you can use the restore plan to have your cluster restored to your DR region. So those options are there. You can enable backup schedule. You can do a cron based schedule or smart schedule. Smart schedule is nothing but Google automatically takes backups based on your target RPO, right? Restoration point objective. So you can define your RPO, and then based on the RPO, well, if there are any changes made to the cluster, then Google automatically takes the backups of your GKE workloads, right? So, and then you can configure retention policies. You can select specific resources or namespace you have to take backup. You can also create a protected application and then target your backup mechanism for specific workloads that you would like to protect. There are a lot of options. We'll go in detail in uh, backup specific video. And you can, for each backup plan, you can create a restoration plan, and you can provide options of how the restoration happens, whether you uh, when you restore it, the resource gets deleted and gets restored from the backup, or if only the resource is not present and you are restoring it, trying to restore it after unfortunate deletion happened. So that those kind of senior options you can create it in the restore plans, right? And here you can see uh, the backups list of all your backups, and if you have any restores operations performed, you can uh, find the restore operation details here. So that's pretty much about the GKE backup uh, uh, tab. So the posture management is mostly uh, enterprise feature, right? So under here, what you will get is that you can uh, scan your workloads for any security vulnerabilities, like if any of your workloads have pods violating the general pod security standards, or your applications that you are running on the cluster has a vulnerability that's part of the image that the workload uses, right? So those kind of stuffs you can easily have identified and then reported using the posture management option. The Google provides the security, and also you can uh, have policies defined enterprise level. Like for example, you work in a company, your company has certain security policies that's defined for your containerized workloads. You can configure those policies and see if any of your workloads violates those policies. Those information you will be able to uh, get out of this section, right? So that's a posture management section. It's an enterprise feature where I haven't enabled it yet. I can show it to you in the later videos as we talk about it. So moving to the next section, which is the networking section, right? So under networking section, you will be able to find all the network related resources. Let's say, for example, in this section, if you use any GKE gateways or any gateway resources that you put on the cluster, right? So those you will be able to see here. The respective routes that you apply to the gateways, you will be able to see here, and services that's deployed in your cluster and namespace, you'll be able to see here. So we had an Nginx deployment done, right? So this Nginx deployment basically, I have exported it so that I can show you the service level details. So, for example, you can go inside the service. It will take you to the workload which the service points to, right? So it will give you the respective metrics, uh, the deployment which this service points to, and the serving pods, right? So we have one replica running, so there is one part that's shown, and the port details. So uh, this service is exposed via 80 port, and the target port is actual 80. So protocol is TCP. The details of the service, YAML, um, events, uh, logs, I think this pretty much gives you the uh, application logs, right? So that's pretty much it. So you can also, if you have an external endpoint mapped, you can also go to that from here. You can click the IP address; it will take you to the web page. So this is a uh, example Nginx server, right? So this is the default Nginx page that I have exposed here. So I will be able to get to the expose service web page from here, right? So and also policies, if you have defined any routing policy, right? So for your gateway, those can be found here. We don't have one, so it's empty. So if you're running any ingress like istio ingress or multi-cluster ingress, those resources will you will be able to see here, right? So this section completely gives you about the networking piece and uh, the network function optimizer. This section helps you when you have multi-networking feature enabled on your GKE cluster, right? So what is multi-networking feature is that you can uh, have uh, multiple networks attached to your nodes or pods, right? So uh, say for example, you have two VPCs having separate teams using it, separate kind of applications running it, and let's say that you are uh, having some uh, common shared workloads that needs to be run on both the environments, right? So let's say for example you do some resource cleanup that you have to uh, automate instead of manually doing it, or if you have to run any kind of batch jobs that's common for different environments. So those times you might have to connect to your applications to do some activities, right? So those times it you can have this multi-networking feature enabled, and then you can have your uh, pods connect to two different networks, right? Which might be in um, used by two different applications or teams that uh, have the workloads running secluded, right? So common those kind of scenarios, you can have the multi-networking feature enabled, and your pod can have multiple networking interfaces attached to it. That way, it can talk to both the required environments, right? So you don't have to deploy these common workloads for individually for each environment. Those kind of uses you can use multi-networking, right? So sometimes people use it as a backup as well. So yeah, backup network as well. In case someone or some outage causes any network issues in your uh, particular VPC, so that times it will be helpful to have multi-networking feature. So moving on to the next section, the features. So this is completely an enterprise one as well. So I'll just give you a brief overview. So the feature manager, this will help you manage all the uh, GKE fleet or hub features that's available as part of the enterprise offering, right? So here you will be able to manage individual features, enable them if not enabled by default, configure them. So those kind of options you can is available in the feature manager section, right? The next is the service mesh. So you might, I don't know if you have heard about cloud service mesh. It's a Google's enterprise offering, right? Um, so if you are having a service mesh deployed and you would like to uh, explore how the traffic flows or any issues with your mesh, you can have it troubleshooted from this page, right? It will give you a detailed flow diagram of how your traffic flows within the mesh, which service connects to which pods, um, uh, generate traffic to which pod, interconnections, outside traffic flow into the service mesh. So those details you'll be able to view in this section using the topology view that's shown as an example here. We'll see it in detail in a different video, but yeah, this is just an overview for now. And the config section, I think you might, I don't know if you have heard about the Anthos configuration manager. So um, you can have your workloads managed automatically by based on the uh, configurations that you have in a Git repository, right? So you can have Git repos, you can have a Git repo as a source of truth, and then whatever changes you make to your manifest for your workloads, so though that will automatically be synced to your cluster. So that's uh, that and much more Anthos configuration manager can do. And this section allows you to see if the cluster is in a sync status with your repository changes, and whether any uh, reconciliations happened or synchronizations, and any issues with the reconciling. So those kind of stuff, Anthos configuration management stuffs you can do here. My friend has done a different YouTube playlist on this, so I'll be linking you to that in the description as well. Please go and check out if you would like to explore more about the conf ACM. All right, so and then moving on to the next section is the identity service, right? So what we haven't enabled it, so this is an enterprise feature as well. So what Anthos identity service does is this option helps you with integrating your um, user management, user authentication for GKE cluster with your existing identity provider, right? So let's say, for example, uh, your company has its Active Directory maintained in Azure Active Directory. Now it's named as Entra, right? So let's say your Active Directory users are being maintained in an Azure Entra, and you would like for them to be authenticated your GKE without having to. Let's say you don't have to. Do any additional authentication configuration, right? So you don't have to bring in your users into Google Cloud's IAM and then give them access to GKE. Instead of that, you can use the Anthos identity service, wherein it extends your Google Kubernetes engine cluster authentication to your external identity provider, right? For example, you can use SAML, ADA, OIDC based authentication mechanisms to connect to your external identity provider, existing identity provider, and then you can authenticate the user to your uh, GKE cluster using an existing IDP, right? So that's possible with this feature. So if possible, we'll look this in detail in a different video as well. So that's pretty much about the GKE console. I think, yeah, I mean, there is a option to explore GKE release notes as well. Whenever Google releases any GKE great, they post the details here. So recently they deprecated a GKE feature, right? So like GKE threat protection, GKE compliance dashboard. So the generic release notes announcements get changed, get posted here. This will be an easy section to check for any new releases that's coming up, uh, any deprecations, right? So those kind of stuffs you can easily track here from this section, right? So yeah, you will have a history of the changes as well here. It'll be easy for you to track these changes as well, right? So also here you have the marketplace. So marketplace, as you know, is a place where third party solution providers or vendors, they uh, provide offer the solutions to the Google Cloud users, and prepackaged easy to configure way, right? So using this marketplace, you can deploy your GKE workloads. Um, like for example, if you'd like to deploy any MySQL workload, right, on your GKE, you can do that. So uh, as you see, there is a MariaDB click to deploy containers option available. So you can just uh, click here, go through the steps that's needed to configure your MariaDB on GKE, right? So yeah, this is the general marketplace that you might have seen for Google Compute Engine or other marketplaces, right? So you can get third-party solutions made available for you with guided configuration steps to run the specific workloads on your GKE cluster, right? So that option is available here too. So uh, yeah, that's pretty much about the walkthrough or overview about the GKE console. So we didn't go much into the enterprise features, so I'll do a separate video about that, and then there we'll go through each of this uh, details, right? So uh, so yeah, this is the with this we complete the GKE console walkthrough, and then let's close this video. Thanks for your time.